10 years ago, my parents decided to move to Japan to start a business. I was 15 at the time, and they left me behind to live with my grandparents. It wasn't exactly a surprise. My parents were never really there for me, even though I'd spent most of my life with them. They were always preoccupied, either with work or with my younger sister, Lily. Lily was 8 years younger than me and had Down syndrome. I understood that she needed extra care, but it still hurt to see my parents pour all their energy into her while I felt invisible. I tried everything to get their attention. Acting out, getting good grades, even trying to be the perfect daughter. Nothing worked. The move to Japan was the final straw. They said they were leaving me with my grandparents because setting up a new business would be too hectic, and they wouldn't have time for me. They tried to sugarcoat it, saying they didn't want to disrupt my life. But I wasn't fooled. They simply didn't want to deal with me. That fight, the day they told me they were leaving, was the last real conversation I had with them as their child. I was only 15, but I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that they didn't want me. From that moment on, I stopped expecting anything from them. Living with my grandparents wasn't bad. They were loving and attentive, unlike my parents. They actually listened to me, cared about my day, and treated me like I mattered. They even scolded my parents for neglecting me, but it never changed anything. Fast forward to today, and I'm 25, engaged to the love of my life, Mark. We've been together for 7 years, and we're planning a small, intimate wedding. And here's where the problem lies. I decided not to invite my parents. It's not like I haven't seen them at all in the past decade. They visit for a few weeks every year, usually around the holidays, bringing expensive gifts like they can buy my affection. They also send my grandparents money for my expenses, even though my grandparents don't need it. It feels like they're trying to compensate for their absence with material things, but it doesn't work that way. My relationship with them has been distant and strained. I'm polite when they visit, I reply to their emails, but there's no real connection. It's all very surface level, and they've never tried to address the elephant in the room. The fact that they abandoned me. So, when they found out about my wedding and that they weren't invited, they were offended. Everyone in the family knows we're not close, and I'm only inviting a handful of people anyway, so it's not like they're going to be the subject of gossip. But they insist on being there, and not just that. They want to walk me down the aisle. It baffles me. After all these years of emotional neglect, they suddenly want to play the role of loving parents? It feels disingenuous, like they're more concerned with appearances than actually being there for me. My grandparents have been my rock. They raised me, supported me, and have always been there for me. It felt natural to ask them to walk me down the aisle, a way of honoring their love and commitment. Now, my emotions are a whirlwind. I didn't expect this reaction from my parents. It's like they're trying to rewrite history, to pretend that the past 10 years didn't happen. Their insistence on being involved in my wedding has dredged up old wounds and insecurities, making me question everything. Maybe I should explain why my grandparents agreed to let me stay with them in the first place. They were worried that if they refused, my parents would simply palm me off on some other relative. They knew I'd be better off with them, where I was loved and cared for. They tried to convince my parents to take me to Japan, but my parents claimed that my past behavior, the acting out, the desperate attempts for attention, had convinced them I'd be too much to handle while they were starting over. My grandparents, bless their hearts, believed them. They thought I'd be happier staying put, and they were determined to make sure I had a stable and loving home. They did their best to maintain a good relationship with my parents, allowing them to visit regularly. They hoped that things would eventually improve, that we'd become a normal family. Sadly, that never happened, but I owe them everything. They gave me the love and support that my parents withheld. They're the reason I'm able to stand here today, about to marry the man of my dreams. And that's why I won't budge on who walks me down the aisle, even if I end up inviting my parents. And just to clarify, I don't hate my sister, Lily. She's actually invited to the wedding. We've always been close, despite the distance and the fact that we didn't grow up together. We chat online, do video calls, and I always make time for her when my parents visit. It's true that growing up, I couldn't play with her the way I did with other kids, but that doesn't mean I love her any less. She's my sister, and I know it's not her fault that my parents used her Down syndrome as an excuse to neglect me. Ironically, Lily is the reason my parents even found out about my wedding. I'm a private person, so I didn't post anything on social media. When I sent out the invitations, I specifically asked everyone not to mention it to my parents, but I slipped up and told Lily, forgetting that my parents monitor her online activity. They saw the invitation in her emails, and that's when the drama started. When my parents first contacted me about the wedding, they expressed their disappointment that I had only invited Lily and not them. They said it felt like a slap in the face, even though they acknowledged they hadn't been the best parents. I tried to explain that I was keeping the wedding small and private, and that they weren't in any danger of being gossiped about. But that just made them more offended. They claimed they didn't care about gossip. They just wanted to be there for their daughter. They even pulled the "we're your parents, whether you like it or not" card. I tried to remain calm, reiterating that I was keeping the wedding small, and that my grandparents, who had practically raised me, would be walking me down the aisle. It felt like a reasonable explanation, but they wouldn't hear it. We argued back and forth for days. They even tried to use Lily's attendance as leverage, reminding me that she was still a minor and couldn't travel alone from Japan. I had already arranged for my grandfather to escort her, with the expenses shared by both families. But my parents didn't care. They were determined to come, and they were willing to use their own daughter as a pawn to get their way. Finally, I reached my breaking point. In a heated phone call, I let them have it. I told them they couldn't expect me to be their daughter after 10 years of neglect. They countered by listing all the things they had done for me, paying for my education, providing financial support. But I told them they couldn't just throw money at me and expect that to erase years of emotional distance. Things got ugly. I told them that Lily would be attending the wedding, with or without them. I had already spoken to Lily, and she was determined to be there, even if it meant going against our parents. In the end, I blocked my parents. It felt like the only way to protect myself from their manipulation and guilt trips. I knew it wasn't a permanent solution, but I needed some space to breathe and focus on my wedding. It's been 2 weeks since that blow-up, and the situation is still tense. My parents have been trying to poison Lily against me, but she's been strong and has kept me informed about their tactics. It hurts to know they're trying to use her innocence against me, but I'm also proud of her for standing up for herself and for our relationship. I never imagined they would take things this far, but last evening, they surprised us by showing up at my grandparents' house with Lily in tow. I was at work at the time, pulling overtime, and when my grandparents called to tell me, I decided to stay put. I didn't owe them an immediate response, especially since they hadn't bothered to inform me they were coming. By the time I arrived, accompanied by Mark, they had been waiting for over an hour. They immediately started berating us for being late, claiming it was disrespectful to keep them waiting when they had flown all the way from Japan. I stood my ground. I told them I didn't owe them an explanation and that they had no right to dictate my schedule. Their expectation that I would always bend over backward to accommodate them had to stop. That just fueled their anger. They called me disrespectful, ungrateful, and said I didn't deserve to have them at my wedding. Lily started crying, caught in the crossfire, and I had to comfort her while my parents continued their tirade. Finally, my grandparents intervened, telling my parents that I wasn't going to change my mind and that it was time for them to leave. But Lily, bless her heart, stood up for herself and refused to leave unless they promised to let her attend the wedding with Grandpa. There was more drama, of course, but in the end, my parents had to agree. They couldn't bear to see Lily upset, and for once that worked in my favor. I'm still not entirely convinced they'll keep their word, but I'm determined to have Lily at my wedding, even if I have to fly to Japan myself to bring her over. My parents left after that, but they're staying in a hotel for the next 2 days before flying back. They allowed Lily to stay with my grandparents, but their refusal to stay under the same roof speaks volumes about their pride and stubbornness. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I get to spend time with the people I love, the people who truly matter. My parents are the ones missing out, and that's their choice. It's been a whirlwind of a week. My wedding is just a few days away, and I'm finally starting to feel the excitement bubbling up through all the stress. Lily arrived safely with Grandpa a few days ago, and it's been amazing having her here. She's brought so much joy and laughter into the house, and it's been wonderful catching up and making new memories. I'm still anxious about my parents, though. They haven't tried to contact me directly, but I know they're not happy about the situation. I'm hoping they'll keep their word and let Lily stay for the wedding, But there's a nagging fear in the back of my mind that they'll pull some last-minute stunt to disrupt everything. Despite the worry, I'm determined to focus on the positive. Mark and I have been busy with the final wedding preparations, and it's been so much fun. We've chosen a beautiful outdoor venue, with a breathtaking view of the mountains. The guest list is small, just close family and friends, and I know it's going to be an intimate and heartfelt celebration. My grandparents have been incredible. They've been helping with everything, from the decorations to the catering, and their support means the world to me. They're so happy for me, and I can see the pride in their eyes whenever they look at me. It makes me realize how lucky I am to have them in my life. Lily has been a constant source of amusement and affection. She's so excited about the wedding, and she keeps asking me questions about the dress, the flowers, and the cake. It warms my heart to see her so involved and enthusiastic. We've been spending our days exploring the local area, trying new foods, and just enjoying each other's company. I'm trying to savor every moment, to push aside the negativity and focus on the love and support that surrounds me. This is my time, my wedding, and I won't let my parents' bitterness taint it. I know they're probably watching from afar, stewing in their resentment, but that's their burden to bear. I've made my peace with our relationship, or lack thereof. I'm not expecting them to suddenly become the parents I always wanted, and I'm not going to let their disapproval dictate my happiness. This wedding is a new beginning, not just for me and Mark, but for my relationship with my family. It's a chance to celebrate the people who truly matter, the ones who have always been there for me, and it's a chance to finally step out of the shadow of my parents' neglect and embrace the future with open arms. I'm nervous, excited, and overwhelmed all at the same time. But most of all, I'm filled with a sense of peace and gratitude. I'm surrounded by love, and that's all that truly matters. The wedding day dawned bright and beautiful, just like I'd always dreamed it would be. I woke up with a flutter of nerves, but mostly I felt a deep sense of calm and joy. This was it, the day I'd been planning for months, the day I'd commit my life to the man I loved, surrounded by the people who truly mattered. Lily was bouncing off the walls with excitement, practically vibrating with anticipation. She'd chosen a beautiful dress to wear, and she looked like a little princess. My grandparents were beaming, their eyes filled with love and pride. Even Mark, usually the calm and collected one, had a nervous energy about him. The hours leading up to the ceremony were a blur of activity. Hair and makeup, dressing up, last-minute checks, and a whirlwind of emotions. But through it all, I felt a sense of peace. This was right. This was meant to be. Then, just as I was about to slip into my wedding dress, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a text message from an unknown number. My heart sank. I knew instantly who it was. My parents. They'd gone to the trouble of using a burner phone just to send me a passive-aggressive message on my wedding day. They wished me well, congratulated me on my marriage, and then added a snide remark about how I'd understand their feelings someday when I had children of my own who treated me the same way. It was a classic guilt trip, a last-ditch attempt to ruin my day. But you know what? It didn't work. I read the message, felt a momentary pang of sadness and anger, and then I deleted it. I wasn't going to let their negativity taint my happiness. I put on my dress, took a deep breath, and walked out to meet my grandparents. They both gasped when they saw me, their faces filled with awe and admiration. In that moment, I knew I was making the right decision. These were the people who deserved to walk me down the aisle, the people who had loved and supported me unconditionally. The ceremony was everything I'd ever wanted. It was held in a beautiful garden, with the sun shining down on us and the birds singing in the trees. Mark looked so handsome in his suit, and his eyes were filled with love as he watched me walk towards him. My grandparents held my hands tightly, their presence a source of strength and comfort. As we walked down the aisle, I saw Lily beaming at me from the front row, her smile wide and infectious. In that moment, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. I was surrounded by love, and that was all that mattered. The ceremony was short and sweet, filled with heartfelt vows and promises. As Mark and I exchanged rings, I felt a surge of happiness that brought tears to my eyes. We were married, finally, and it felt like a dream come true. The reception was a joyous celebration, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. My friends and family showered us with love and good wishes, and I felt so grateful for their presence in my life. Even Lily got up and danced, her enthusiasm contagious. As the day drew to a close, I felt a sense of contentment and peace I'd never experienced before. My wedding had been perfect, not because it was flawless or extravagant, but because it was filled with genuine love and connection. I had chosen to surround myself with the people who truly mattered, and that had made all the difference. My parents' absence was a small blip on the radar, a reminder of the past I was leaving behind. I knew they were probably still upset, but I also knew that I couldn't change their minds or their behavior. I had made my peace with that. As Mark and I drove off into the sunset, hand in hand, I felt a sense of excitement for the future. We had a lifetime of adventures ahead of us, and I knew that with him by my side, I could face anything. My wedding had been a beautiful beginning, a celebration of love, and a testament to the power of choosing your own family. It's been a week since the wedding, and the dust has finally settled. Mark and I are back from our honeymoon, a blissful escape to a secluded cabin in the woods. It was the perfect way to unwind after all the excitement and emotion of the wedding. We've been slowly settling back into our routine, unpacking boxes, sorting through gifts, and reminiscing about the magical day. Every time I think about the wedding, a smile spreads across my face. It truly was the most beautiful day of my life. Lily flew back to Japan with Grandpa a few days ago. It was hard saying goodbye, but we promised to stay in touch and visit each other soon. I'm so grateful she was able to be there for my wedding, and I know our bond is stronger than ever. As for my parents, well, there's still a sore spot. I haven't heard from them directly since the wedding, but I know they're not happy. My grandparents told me they received a curt email from my parents, thanking them for escorting Lily to the wedding and back, but there was no mention of me or Mark. It's clear they're still holding on to their anger and resentment. I can't say I'm surprised. They've never been good at handling their emotions, especially when it comes to admitting they're wrong. But you know what? I'm done trying to please them. I'm done letting their negativity dictate my life. I've spent too many years seeking their approval, only to be met with indifference and neglect. It's time for me to focus on my own happiness, my own family. Mark has been my rock throughout this whole ordeal. He's listened patiently to my frustrations, offered support and encouragement, and never once pressured me to do something I wasn't comfortable with. He understands the complicated relationship I have with my parents, and he respects my decisions. I'm so lucky to have him in my life. He's everything I've ever wanted in a partner: kind, compassionate, supportive, and fiercely loyal. With him by my side, I feel like I can conquer anything. We've started talking about starting a family of our own someday, and the thought fills me with excitement and a little bit of trepidation. I know it won't be easy, but I'm determined to break the cycle of emotional neglect that I experienced as a child. I want to create a loving and supportive home for my children, a place where they feel safe, valued, and unconditionally loved. I know my parents will probably never understand my choices, and that's okay. I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for myself, for Mark, and for the future family we're building together. My wedding was a turning point in my life. It was a celebration of love, a rejection of negativity, and a declaration of independence. I finally feel free. Free from the weight of my parents' expectations. Free to create my own path. And free to love and be loved without reservation. This is my happily ever after, and it's just the beginning. Story 2. I was described as frugal and stingy by my mother-in-law. Then she threw the ring I had purchased for her daughter in my direction. She is in a frantic attempt to get back together after I called off the engagement. I had always been frugal with my finances. I emphasized financial security over unnecessary expenditure because I came from a modest background. I made the decision to purchase a significant ring that wouldn't break the bank when I got engaged. An elegant diamond is put onto a traditional white gold ring. It seemed ideal to me. At first, my fiancée appeared happy, but her mother's response was rather different. I can still clearly recall the day. With cozy lighting and family pictures, we were seated in my fiancé's living room. In a little velvet box, I displayed the ring. As her mother lingered close by, wearing a fake grin, my fiancé's eyes brightened. Her mother insisted on taking a close look at the ring. With a contemptuous glance at the diamond, she mumbled, "That's it." In fact, she scoffed, "Dear, oh dear, The stone is hardly visible. Is this anything from the sale section? As if to make amends for her mother's harshness, my fiancé gave me a tense glance. The mother persisted, though. It's better than nothing, I suppose. It hurt. In order for us to eventually afford a respectable wedding, I had carefully budgeted a portion of my money for that ring. I made an effort to remain composed and mentioned that this ring has sentimental significance, that I intended to invest more money on a shared house and adventures rather than a showy rock, and that it came from a respectable jeweler. She waved her hand dismissively. An engagement ring is meant to demonstrate your seriousness about my daughter, young guy. It appears that you are struggling financially. My fiancé winced at her acerbic tone. She hissed, "Mom, quit!" However, the mother persisted. My daughter will never wear such a cheap ring. I could feel the heat on my face. It's not inexpensive, I said curtly. I went for something classy and reasonably priced. I'm not going to spend a fortune on a ring, even if I like your kid. Suddenly her mother's mouth twisted. The little box clattered to the floor as she threw the ring at me. Do not bother. We had higher expectations, she yelled. With a gasp, my fiancé reached down to pick up the ring and apologized sincerely. However, her mother's outspoken and harsh response made my stomach turn. She said I wasn't deserving of her daughter and branded me frugal and stingy. Anger throbbing, I stood. You treat me this way because I'm attempting to be financially savvy. My gift is thrown in my face by you. Her mother refused to listen to my fiancé's attempts to defuse the situation. She blasted me for not giving her daughter the enormous diamond she so richly deserved. I had a constricted chest. It was a wasted moment. I had imagined this momentous day. Her mother's entitlement broke her. I was able to respond, I'll keep my ring if that's how you feel. Regards. I left with my pulse pounding, ring in hand. The drive home was a haze of incredulity and rage. I remembered the anguished expression in my fiancé's eyes, as well as her exasperating quietness while her mother swore. I felt something crack. It was more than a ring dilemma. It indicated more serious problems. Her mother exerted excessive control. My fiancé visited my flat the next day. She was clearly torn as she paced about. She said, I'm so sorry about my mother's reaction. She may be stern. She doesn't see your point of view, but she wants the best for me. The identical ring that had flown through the air when her mother hurled it was sitting on my coffee table, and I gazed at it. Even I could hear the fatigue in my voice. I was termed useless and cheap by your mother. The ring was actually thrown at me by her. I can't act like that's all right. Tears filled her eyes as she wrung her hands. She is traditional. She thinks a ring ought to be ostentatious. Give her time, please. She will change her mind. But I was still furious. I responded, It's not just about the ring. It's the way she acts. How she considers me to be a mere wallet. How about you? You hardly stood up for me. She was hurt by that. She attempted to clarify that she had been taken aback by her mother's assertive demeanor. I became frustrated, though. I can't marry someone who might overlook their mother's obvious disregard for me. I love you, she begged, crying. Let's solve this problem. With trepidation, I inhaled. All right. At the absolute least, though, your mother should apologize to me. She gave a tentative nod. I will speak with her. Maybe she will relax. In an attempt to turn things around, we made plans to see her mother once again. Even though I loved my fiancé, there was a part of me that wanted to cross everything off the list, or the version of her I thought I knew. We went to her mother's house that night. The tension was there from the start. Her mom was seated rigidly on the couch, crossed arms, no cordial welcome, no trace of regret. I'd like to clear the air, I replied after an awkward quiet. It was really terrible how you responded to my ring. She took a whiff. I'm not going to celebrate anything that cheap, you know. My fiancé gave her mother a scowl. Stop it, Mom. The ultimatum followed. If I wanted the wedding to go forward, her mother asked that I purchase a larger diamond. My blood began to boil. Why is that? Any of your companies? I'm talking to your daughter about this. She gave me a poisonous look. I have complete control over it. I refuse to allow my daughter to wear a cheap ring. I looked at my fiancé, expecting her to stand up for me, but all she did was murmur, Let's not do this, Mom. It dawned on me then that my fiancé was living in the shadow of her mother. She would never be able to totally resist her. Her mother stepped up and insisted that I make a ring fit for this family, or move aside. There was too much hubris. I rose up after a moment of astonished stillness. Enough. Our engagement cannot be dictated by you. I will simply cancel the entire event if this is your attitude. Her mum grinned. I was positive I was bluffing. You'll never find someone better, she spit out. My heart was thumping with rage. I looked at my fiancé, looking for genuine support on her expression. She appeared paralyzed and torn. The mother sneered, seeing my quiet as weakness. Later, don't come sobbing. My daughter is capable of more. I was broken by that sneer. My voice trembled as I balled my fists. We've finished our engagements. The quiet was overwhelming. The eyes of my fiancé grew wide. You can't just cancel. We adore one another. As though my promise to leave was a little annoyance, her mother rolled her eyes. I wasn't moving, though. I refused to be disrespected in this manner. I refused to wed into a household that views me as a financial burden. I took the ring out of my pocket and placed it on the table. Keep it or throw it away again, because it's so useless. I don't give a damn. I turned and walked away. Ignoring my fiancé's desperate pleadings, I felt a strange sense of relief, as though I had escaped a poisonous trap. The consequences intensified over the following several days. My phone was inundated with voicemails and texts from my fiancé, alternating between regret and rage. She says she reprimanded her mother, saying she only needed me to change my mind. However, I had a feeling that the mother would reappear with demands if I gave in. That game was over for me. The mother then attempted her own tactic, sending me a patronizing text saying that if I apologized for any rudeness, she would forgive me. If I presented her with a larger ring, perhaps a more appropriate diamond, she added, I would have the nerve. She would politely permit the engagement to continue. Her haughtiness nearly caused my mouth to drop. She thought she was in charge of everything. My fiancé unexpectedly showed up at my house a week later. Half expecting another altercation, I let her speak. Rather, her face was one of regret. Mom is acting inappropriately. I understand, she responded. She is my mother, though. I'm at a loss. You, not she, are the one I want to marry. Shall we disregard her? I regrettably shook my head. Ignoring her won't make the issue go away. You won't challenge her, and she feels entitled to control our relationship. That suggests you'll give up the minute she asks for something else. That is not how I can live. With tears in her eyes, she grasped my hands. I promise to establish limits. Please don't let this finish like this. My chest constricted. Even though I loved her, everything was overwhelmed by the mother's poison. I said quietly, my ring was thrown at me by your mother, referred to me as cheap. She wants me to purchase a huge diamond that we cannot afford. You didn't stand up for me. Marriages don't begin that way. She wanted to embrace me while crying, but I resisted. I muttered, I'm sorry. I can't stop seeing what transpired. The engagement has ended. Actually. She broke down in sobs and staggered off, begging for another opportunity. My rejection infuriated the mother, who attempted a new strategy. She disseminated false information about my financial instability and my inability to support a wife. She claimed to her extended family that I had degraded her daughter and that I had reclaimed the ring out of anger. Ironically, though, some people who knew me well were able to see through her foolishness. They told me I escaped a gunshot and offered me gentle words of encouragement. The mother was very domineering. My ex-fiancé, however, refused to quit up. At work, she attempted to corner me and threatened to cut off her mother if I needed it. She begged for another opportunity each time her narrative altered, but she never acknowledged that her mother had gone too far. She made a hesitant offer. I swear I'll take care of it. However, I had a gut feeling that she was weak. Finally, with tears running down her cheeks, she made one more appearance. She held a ring box. She attempted to give it back to me. Reverse this. I want to make a new beginning. I'll let Mom know she has no voice. The sight of the ring made me angry. We cannot simply start over. She treated me so disrespectfully. And you allowed her. That kind of betrayal has no reset button. Out of desperation, she disclosed a concession. I would only purchase a larger diamond if I so desired. Her mom would also say she was sorry. It was a hollow laugh. Do you believe that anything will be resolved if her mother apologizes? After she bragged about me being cheap and worthless, she flinched. I know it was awful, but she's my mother. We can't just cut her off. My voice hardened. Then that's your choice. Stay with your mother's illusions or move on. Without me, I won't be part of her twisted fantasy. Her tears kept flowing, but I stood firm. I'm sorry, I said, calmer now. I did love you. But this fiasco showed me who truly has your loyalty. Your mother's demands overshadow our relationship. She tried again. That's not fair. You're punishing me for her actions. I exhaled slowly. You never stood up for me. That's what's unfair. She realized I wasn't budging. Face pale, she finally left. Ring box clutched in trembling fingers. The next day, she texted a simple message. I can't believe you're doing this. I didn't reply. Some mutual friends reached out calling me heartless. Others said they'd heard how vile her mother could be, and that I was escaping a lifetime of toxic meddling. Weeks turned into a month. The mother, not done with her antics, tried contacting me directly, offering a truce if I apologized. Her words dripped entitlement. I'll let you marry my daughter if you prove you can afford her. I deleted the message, shaking my head at the absurd audacity. Meanwhile, I felt a feeling of calm in my suddenly single existence. The ring sat in a drawer, a reminder of a near miss. Occasionally, I'd reminisce the pleasant days with my ex, wonder if I was too harsh. But then I recalled that moment. The ring flying at my face followed by screaming charges of stinginess. It confirmed my choice. A marriage dominated by such dominating in-laws was doomed from the outset. Eventually, word emerged that my ex's mother attempted pushing her daughter into another relationship. Some rich person, my ex reportedly refused. Realized too late how her mother's influence had cost her real love. She even tried phoning me again, stating she regretted not standing by my side, but that ship had sailed. I'd moved on, determined not to let remorse or pity overpower the poisonous environment we formerly lived. I eventually left with my dignity unharmed, free from a mother-in-law who believed that wealth was more important than decency. If she won a costly ring as a token of affection, then so be it. That was not the game for me.